Coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida, welcome to the Paperstac Podcast, where we cover current topics in the note industry, give you tactics for your note business, and talk with industry leaders to make you a better note investor. And now, your hosts, Brett Berkey and Rick Allen.
Here we are, back again. It's been a while. Rick, Brett, Paperstac Podcast, gonna dive into the world of note investing, Paperstac, personal, everything going on. How's it been, buddy?
Good. Just doing the same stuff. We just got a lot of things going.
It's starting Monday. My kids go back to school. My kids are going actually classroom, face-to-face. That means they're not in the home. No more virtual schooling. So a little scary, but I got to tell you, it's funny. I had to sign this. Basically, it's like a full-on release. Look, you're not holding us liable for anything that happens COVID-related. Which, speaking with my dad, who's an attorney, I was like, hey, what do you think about this? He was like, he goes, I never like it when they ask me to sign away all my rights. He goes, but neither do the courts. They don't like it. So I was like, you got to do it. But I never understood. You always hear like the stay-at-home moms be like, when does school start? I got to get them back to school. Boy, I understand it now. Having been working from the house with the kids there, it's just been nuts, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. The hardest part was just trying to figure out the last 2 weeks or week of how to do stuff. They gave the kids iPads, but then they'd send the emails to my wife and give her the login to the thing that, I was like, well, why wouldn't they put it in the classroom where the login is? Like, why would they send it to you? Now, how am I going to get that to that? And I'll go there and I'll get the app store, and then I'll get her Slack. I'm like, oh my gosh, now I got to get her an Apple account. I was like,
come on. Yeah.
Did anybody think this through and like that? And it was like overwhelmed and they couldn't get on class. And they're like just the questions. I was like, look, it doesn't matter. Just whatever. Just wait. They'll get back to normal soon. It'll be done. Starting next week will be great.
Oh, next week also, you guys are, drum roll, finally, after it's been pretty much all of COVID since this has happened, we've started this massive update on the platform. Massive, like big time overhaul. Some really cool new features. The way you're signing documents is really spectacular. Mobile friendly. You can do really a whole transaction on your phone now. Before, it was super tedious, scrolling up, scrolling down, sliding up and down. It's mobile friendly now. That should be released by Monday the 17th-ish.
We're going to have it done this weekend.
So
I said Mike's going to have it done this weekend.
Yeah, Mike's going to have it done this weekend. Brett will have be in charge of the QA.
Yeah, but it's checking the QA, making sure everything goes well, and I'm trying to break the site. So try to break the site and then get Mike to
We try to break the site so you can't.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what the QA team tries to do.
Yeah, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's just some exciting stuff. So just those updates coming from the desk of Paperstac on what's coming as far as like that. Keep an eye out. And I know Mike will do an update video and give you a far more in-depth look at what's coming up, all the features, but it's going to be some amazing stuff. So we'll once that comes out, we'll definitely have a link to that in the description below to the update at Paperstac, but you're definitely going to want to see that.
Yeah. There's other stuff too. There's something was past the mid-year, so something mid-year related will be coming out soon.
Oh, the mid-year market report. It's here.
Yeah,
it's here. In conjunction with Bob Repass and Notes Direct. We've known Bob for a long time, Notes Direct and Paperstac. While we're both online trading platforms, we do collaborate on a lot of different projects. Notes Direct will be actually utilizing our closing process at some point. I was talking with Bob about that. So we're pretty excited. If you haven't checked out Notes Direct, definitely give them a check. It's a great platform as well, different inventory. But we do work together. But yes, we did combined our heads and combined our data and washed out some pretty interesting stuff about the first half of the year and what does it look like in that sort of, in our retail space or our one-off to small pool trading that's going on and on Paperstac. So interesting stuff. That'll be coming out.
And Notes
Paperstac and Notes Direct. And we'll be doing a full podcast
about that.
About that, just reviewing numbers, maybe giving a little more insight. Be happy to answer any questions, maybe some live calling questions. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, I have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Hey, just put it on your plate, bud.
Yeah. Okay.
So today, what are we talking about?
Today, we're going to talk about something that I think it's a mindset question. It's the mindset of base hits and grand slams and note investing and how to set your mind up for both of them. I'm not much of
Man,
a baseball player. The bunt.
I'll tell you this. I was a baseball player. And sometimes the base hits, the ones you're just like, look, I'm just trying to hit a base hit, would turn into a home run or a grand slam. I remember I got my butt reamed, but we had a hit and run called. And a hit and run in baseball, you got a runner on first. And as a batter, you're trying to hit a ground ball to the right side to get him over to second base. And I actually wound up hitting a home run. But you're never supposed to hit the ball up. It's always supposed to be down and on the ground. Because if you hit the ball up, what happens is as soon as the pitcher goes to throw, the guy's stealing. So the idea is he's stealing, you're hitting a ground ball, he's going to be safe. I hit a home run, and it was on accident, but that's going to happen. The same thing is with note investing. You jump into note investing or you're in there, you're analyzing stuff for base hits. The reason you're not always trying to smash them out of the park is because you're not going to buy assets.
Yeah, if you're always looking for the grand slam, you're going to miss a lot of single.
And what you can do is, and this is what most of the successful note investors I know, they have multiple exit strategies. And one might be a single, one might be a double, one might be a triple, one might be grand slam, home run, whatever. We'll go back and talk about one that we did on the platform that, and you've probably heard about this one before, but if you haven't, we'll talk a little bit about it, is it was a contract for deed that sat on the platform. Somebody was selling it and it sat there for 3 or 4 months. Nobody bid on it because it was non-performing and the seller was asking like $30,000 and the unpaid principal balance was $35,000. Total payoff on it was like $42,000, something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I looked at it and I saw the value on the property was in the 180s fixed up. And I was like, if I could buy a property for $30,000, it's worth $180,000. That's no brainer. Most people understand that if you're buying off the principal balance and you're paying $30,000 for a $35,000 principal balance, you have to show that they actually owe you the other $42,000 or they owe you $42,000. And I bought that with the mindset of, hey, I can get in there and potentially get this property back and hit a home run on this deal. But I also knew that if I didn't get that, and I wind up having to go through foreclosure. It was in a non-judicial state, which was it was a faster foreclosure time, less money. That I was like, okay, worst case, I'm going to wind up making maybe a 10 or 15% return, maybe a 20% return if we got lucky. But that's it. And I knew that if it went to auction, some investor out there, because as the investor on the loan, you can only bid up to the total amount owed to you. You can't bid over that amount. As that investor, I was like, okay, I know that if it goes to auction, somebody's going to buy this. But if they bought it and I make 20%, okay, I'm okay with it, short time frame. But the upside was if I can get the property back, get them to sign the house over, which ultimately is what happened. They did sign the house over. We wrote a check for $3,000 or $4,000 to the lady, and we wound up selling it. I want to say we sold it for close to 100. It was like 95. It's been like 7 or 8 months. I can't remember the exact details, but that was a home run. And so I guess it's all about your mindset of understanding that the home runs will come. Plan for base hits.
What about bunts? You ever plan for the bunt?
Yeah. Sometimes you plan for a bunt. And a bunt is going to be sometimes where it's a strategic buy. Maybe, for instance, it's in a pool of loans, right? Mm-hmm. And you know that, look, they want me to take this loan if I'm going to buy these other 5. And I'm not crazy about that loan, but I know that it's performing. I can buy it. And then I can turn around and resell it and get out of it. And so I buy the whole package and then I can break this one off and sell it as a one-off and get out. So when you say buy for a bunt, it's really just a strategic, okay, at what point, what's the reasoning behind it? And there should always be a reason for buying an asset. You should always go into it with a game plan of, here's my plan on how I'm going to get into this asset, get out of this asset, and will it make sense?
That's smart. So every asset, even in a big pool, you know exactly. If you're buying a pool of 15, 20, you know what you want to do with each asset in that pool.
Are you new to the mortgage note industry? Have you been wanting to learn the step-by-step process to purchase your first mortgage note? Well, you're in luck. We've convinced our CEO, Rick Allen, to break down everything he knows about mortgage note investing. Through a series of 50 videos, you'll get everything from start to finish of where to purchase notes, how to purchase notes, and all of Rick's investing techniques he has developed over the many years. From performing note tactics to non-performing notes, Rick gives you everything he knows about investing. Bonuses include our glossary of industry terms, Rick's own proprietary calculators he created to evaluate notes, discounts from our partners, our Rolodex of vendors, a private Facebook group, along with a lot more. We've packed so much content into the Academy to take you from beginner to expert in no time. To learn more about the Academy, go to academy.paperstac.com/welcome. Again, that is academy.paperstac.com/welcome.
For the most part, I'll have a real generalized idea of, okay, this one we're gonna try to turn and sell quickly. This one is no, we can work this one and try to get the asset back. We're getting a really good deal here. And what'll happen is you'll have sort of layers. You'll have the ones that are they're just blatantly obvious. It's like anybody, whether you've been in the business for 10 days or 10 years, you'll be able to get in there and say, okay, I can see this one, what we're supposed to do. Like, I know the way that this asset's going to roll. But then it's not those that separate the men from the boys or the winners from the losers. It's to be able to go down into that second level or that third level and say, okay, these are questionable. It could go one of 5 different ways, and just understand that you have outs for all of those different ways. And really that comes into if you set up your playbook, right? If you set your playbook up, you've ran through the scenarios on other assets, you know what happens. You're like, okay, I know that if I get this one, it's going to fall into one of these 4 buckets. And if it falls into one of those 4 buckets, I know how I'm going to handle it. That's ultimately what happens, right? Because note investing, at some point, anything that's going to happen is going to fall into 98% of the things. Now, there's always going to be that 2%. I've never seen this happen before. How are we going to get through it? And as long as you have a good legal team and a creative mind, you can usually get through it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's really just managing your playbook, knowing what's in your tool belt. Do I know how to get in and out of all the different cracks and crevices or scenarios that I might find myself in? And that's no different than any investment space that you get into. You always will know your risk. You'll know how to manage your risk. And that's ultimately what's going to manage the difference between a base hit, a single double, or a home run.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just managing your risk.
Managing your risk is how you hit home runs.
Yeah.
I became the Babe Ruth of...
Not me. Don't call me the Babe Ruth of anything.
No, I'm just saying how someone can become the Babe. Was he that great of a baseball player?
The Bambino, Babe Ruth? Yeah, Brett. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just saying compared to, I guess, at that time, compared to numbers now, I guess it's different.
Yeah, he was really good. I didn't have the chance to watch him play, but if you look at the numbers, you look what he did. Yeah, man, he was good. He played everywhere. Hit home runs and...
Gotcha. All right.
He was a man's man. He was a man's... Yeah.
Smoke cigars in the dugout?
Yeah. Beers and cigars in the dugout.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's Friday. We should have had a beer on this podcast.
We still got the pool. We're going to go to the pool later.
Yeah.
I might actually do that.
So what else we got, man?
That was pretty much it for this episode. I just wanted to have some people get in the mindset. If you want to learn more about the exit strategies that Rick has talked about, we have done a previous podcast on that, and you can find the exit strategies and note investing. He goes through all of them. So just think of that as your base hits and go through the exit strategies and decide which ones are the base hits, which ones are the grand slams. And that way, next time you're looking at a note on Paperstac, which one you should be evaluating it by.
You know, it's something to look at also, though, is before we go, is we talk about base hits, we talk about home runs. What about the outs?
What about the outs?
The outs. Let's not forget that this is investing, right? So you could run into situations where you miss something, or you run into situations where things just go really wrong and really not how they're supposed to or planned. Yeah. At that point, it's definitely about managing your risk. And when you get into a situation where you're in a loss situation, like, you have to say, what's the way I can lose the least amount of money or recover the most amount of my capital to live to fight another day? Because I tell you, it's going to happen. If you invest in these assets long enough, you're going to have a loser. I remember the first 2 or 3 years of doing this, I heard somebody say that. It might have been Kevin or it might have been Bob. I forget who it was. But I was just like, we've never had a loss. We just must be that good. And then you have a house to where the lady's paying and costs are getting up there, or you've got cushion in the deal, but a tree falls on the house and it's a lower price band house. And it's, look, the tree fell on this house and the insurance payout is not enough when you figure in when the hazard insurance, whenever they start figuring in depreciation and deductibles, all of a sudden when the loan is $18,000 or $19,000 and they owe you, and you're into it for $15,000 or $16,000, and they come in and it just gets, regardless of the interest rate, the tree falls on it and they hit you with depreciation and then they hit you with deductible, and next thing you know, you're losing $1,500 because it's like the servicer goes, "Hey, what do you want to do with this? This is the total amount." And I'm like, "Well, that fixed the house." They're like, "No, the damage is more, but this is the most they're giving. They're totaling it." And we wind up getting that money, and it's like, just satisfy the loan and let them keep the house and they can do what they want with it. That's what happened. And so you run into those situations where sometimes the losses are going to happen. Another instance, you're in the process of buying a house or you have a loan, you're foreclosing, and it gets vandalized or copper stripped, AC's gone, something falls on the house. Any number of things can happen. You just run into a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be tough at that point, when you look at a house and you have a drive-by and it's in good shape, and then 6 months later it gets wrecked. Maybe a hurricane blows through or something like that. I remember one time we had one. It was going to be a smoking deal. It was in Lexington, Kentucky.
Was it the one near
It was.
This is the one you guys talk about all the time?
It was a great deal. Judgment's already entered. We're going into it. We're buying it at $230. Judgment's entered already. It's, look, we just got to take it the distance to foreclosure. Saw the guy had previously filed bankruptcy, but we were within our time. Like, look, we can get this back. The thing is worth $400, $450. It's going to be a banging deal. This borrower had us wrapped up in bankruptcy, in and out of bankruptcy for 2.5 years, 3 years. And it was just literally, it took forever. And then he wound up signing the house over for $7,000 after we dropped so much money in bankruptcy. It was eating up profit, eating up time. But those are things that, like, look, that's going to happen, especially on those higher price band houses. When you start hitting that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 valuation, $600,000 valuation, those borrowers are savvy. Those borrowers, they have attorneys in their Rolodex. They're going to stall. Because it costs them minimal money. It costs you a lot of money for your attorneys. And that's one of those things where that's one where it could go wrong. So you just have to understand, you're swinging for base hits, and most of the time you should be able to get base hits, home runs every now and then, but don't count out the outs. And the outs are gonna come. It's one of those things where that's why, like, for a fund aspect, like if you're investing in a fund like MWM fund, like, one asset that you take a loss on isn't necessarily bad because the rest of the risk is dispersed over hundreds of assets.
Yeah.
Where if you're in this for the first time and your first asset you're buying winds up being a loss, you may never buy another note again.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate that we made it a couple years in without ever taking a loss. And we were like, so we kept going on in the business. I look at it and I talk with TJ. I was like, sometimes, man, if we would have blown our legs off that first run through, I'm like, how differently would our lives look right now? What would we be doing? Maybe we would have stayed in it. Maybe not. I don't know.
Wow.
But it's one of those things to think about is especially if you're buying like seconds, you have to buy seconds in bulk. You have to buy more than 1 second because that's a numbers game. You're going to take outs there.
Yeah.
First position loans, you can analyze it as much as you think, and you can get a pretty good certainty that you're going to be good, but there's always that chance.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
Not to still stay on the baseball theme, but what's a foul ball in note investing?
Foul ball and no. A foul ball and no. See, a foul ball, you usually get to take another crack at the apple, another bite at the apple. So a foul ball, in note investing? That's a good question. I'd love to hear your guys' answers. Send me what you think of foul ball and note investing is, because I'm sure somebody's got a good one out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That was fun. Yeah. I like the analogy and how we kept it going the whole time. That was good. My knowledge of baseball came out.
Yep. And then we don't judge an elephant by its ability to climb a tree.
That's
Don't
true.
you worry.
That's true.
So, anyways, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon. Check us out, Ask Paperstac. We've got a series over there where we answer questions for people from Paperstac, and the Paperstac update, which Mike does quite often, showing off our new features, giving very good quality